And welcome to episode 4 of the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics podcast, joined by Director of Athletic Communications Larry Dielman and Student Assistant Connor Kukowski. This is Sports Information Director Andy Alvarez, bringing you information from this past week's action and previewing the upcoming week. We had a special guest again this week. We had from the women's soccer team, goalkeeper senior Emily Guthier join us. It was a good interview, good insight into the team's win this past week and her time here at Immaculata. We're going to get right into some action right away as our all our teams were in action this week. So cross country returned to action after about a month off. Connor over there was a big part of that this weekend, and for the men's side, go over to Connor and get us started with cross country.
All right, so everyone wants the cross country results. I unfortunately have to talk about myself. So prepare for a little bit of self-glazing, but not really. So yes, like Andy said, we had a months-long break in action. So we returned at the Karen Invitational this past Saturday. On the men's side, Immaculata was able to finish 11th out of 17 teams. This race definitely growed a lot since my freshman year, the last time we were there. So we were also down a couple of runners due to injuries like Sam Domenic, who's our top runner. Mark Kukowski, yours truly, was the first Mighty Max to cross the finish line. He placed in the top 25 out of 137 runners with a time of 32:05. Jimmy Lauer followed in 37th place, clocking in at 33:22:04. Then Chris Watson was the third Mighty Mac to cross the finish line. He finished 48th in 34:26:7. That's your top three for the men's side. Going over to the women's side, Aubrey Donahue, she finished first place and set a new 6K course record for Karen with a time of 24:26.5. Jayla Gross secured the top 20 finish, placing 18th at 28. Brand Dymick followed close behind 22nd with a time of 28:48.4. And Immaculata finished 4th out of 12 teams for the women's side, so a good performance by our women's team there. And there were several PRs accomplished by our men's and women's team, including Kendall Budlow, Yerlin Ortiz, Nick Hyland, and Molly Wenslanki. So overall, a good weekend back for the Mighty Macs. We return to action on October 18th when we go to Border Battle. That's definitely going to be a more tougher race. After that, we got conferences and then the NCAA regional. So we're in full action here at cross country.
Looked like that was a kind of a challenging course for an on-campus race. You don't see as many on-campus races. Usually they go to like other public parks. So for an on-campus course, was that a really challenging course for you guys?
Yeah, I was surprising actually. Like majority of this race was in the woods, and the woods were very like a lot of surface roots, rocks, dirt, and just at one point in the back of the woods between 2 and 3 miles, I was like cooked. You just kept going up and down. I was like, when is this ever gonna end? So I was definitely feeling it after this race. It was a much tougher course than I thought. I underestimated a lot, and I know my teammates can say the same.
Didn't seem to affect Aubrey too much, does it?
No, Aubrey's still goaded, so.
All right, switching over to women's soccer, and women's soccer is now fully into Atlantic East Conference play, 1-0 in conference play with a 2-0 win over Centenary, New Jersey, and 1-1 for the week. They fell to Ursine as 4-0 on Wednesday, but bouncing back against Centenary. And it was an absolute blitzkrieg from the Mighty Max offense, 28 shot attempts to Centenary's 2, and 14 of those 28 shots were on goal. The two goal scorers, Sam Terry up first, and on a free kick from at least 30 yards out, she knocked in a missile, which went right over the goalkeeper's head. I think the goalkeeper tipped it, but it was just out of her reach. That gave the Mighty Max the lead, and Gabby Palladino made sure that Centenary did not have a chance of a comeback, and she put one in the 49th minute on a Lily McGee assist. She juked the defender and knocked it in. Immaculata also forced Centenary's goalkeeper to make 12 saves. Emily Guthier, who is our guest for today, with the clean sheet. What did you guys think about that win? Obviously, an exciting game, and it's a good way to start conference play.
Yeah, that was a real good start for them. And we were talking, with Emily. She didn't have much action for most of the game, and then all of a sudden, late, Centenary made a push and got a couple of great opportunities, and one included a real diving save by Emily Guthier to keep the score at 2-0 at the time and preserve the shutout for Immaculata. A good way at a good start. You saw opportunities and near misses. Maria Granito had a great free kick. Thought for sure that was going in, and somehow the Centenary keeper reacted right, dove and got a hand on it and kept it out of the net. that was a great opportunity there, and a few other good opportunities that just went either just wide or just over the bar for Immaculata. So it was a great start, and it gives them a lot of confidence going down into Marymount on Wednesday, then back home Saturday when they get St. Elizabeth here for their for senior day.
Definitely a huge confidence booster for the women's soccer team after that tough little stretch they were in. I think it was a 6-game losing streak. But yeah, the defense was strong. Like Maria Granito, Sam Cedillo, Emma Sobieski, they were all helped Guthier keep Centenary out of the goal. I mean, 28-2. You don't see that a lot, and that's really impressive of the defense and Guthier as she went the full 90 minutes, and Palladino and the freshman again. Like McGee with the assist, and Rapici keeps getting shots on goal. So they definitely seem to have the rhythm there, and it's a good start to conference play, especially going down to Marymount on the Wednesday, which was obviously going to be a tougher match.
And, Sam Terry earned weekly honor roll honors from the Atlantic East Conference on Monday afternoon, so that was a great performance for her. Moving into Immaculata tennis, the men's and women's tennis team began action on this week on Monday. Their second or kind of third match for the women's, second match for the men's. They hosted Lancaster Bible in the makeup from the previous week from the rainout. The women's tennis team improved to 3-0 in their fall schedule, coming from behind to defeat Lancaster Bible 4-3, winning 4 out of 6 singles matches to earn the victory. They were minus their number one singles player, Delaney Brown, who part of her internship could not be there that day. And so you had some players stepping up to play at a higher role. So Haley Elwell stepped up to play to fill in really at number one singles and won her match 6-1, 2-6, 11-9. Sophia Carey bumped up to play number two singles, won her match 4-6, 6-4, 10-7. Elizabeth Matson playing at number three singles, won her match 7-5, 6-4. And Laura Farrow won her number four singles match 7-5, 6-2. That gave Immaculata the 4 wins they needed to take the match. So that was a really big part of their players being able to step forward and take that match and give them a lot of confidence as they head into a tough match with Ursinus this week. The men's team improved to 1-1 this season, sweeping Lancaster Bible 7-0. They secured the point in doubles, winning 2 out of 3 doubles matches. And then in the singles matches, freshman Easton Ragno won the number one singles match, 6-1, 6-4. Patrick Arnold won the number two singles match coming from behind after losing the first set 4-6, won 6-0 and then 11-9 in the third set tiebreak. And then Nicholas Brown won number three singles 6-0, 6-0. Mike DiMattei won number four singles 6-2, 6-0. And Dalton Spencer won at number five singles 6-2, 6-2 to give Immaculata the 7-0 win for the day. So that evens their record at 1-1. And as they head into their second match will be up at Ursinus on Friday. That will be a difficult match. Obviously, Ursinus is a solid program, a centennial team. So they're going to be tested. But it's a good step forward for the team as they're preparing for the next matches. I think they have each have one more match after this in the fall schedule before they will take their break before the spring schedule. Moving into men's soccer. Men's soccer went 0-1 this week. Suffered a heartbreaking late 4-3 loss at Drew on Wednesday. Immaculata, they've been struggling scoring. They had a breakout game up at Drew. Jonathan Olale, Demir Tassi, and Anthony Fitch all scored goals for the Mighty Macs. Tassier's goal was his first collegiate goal, and the interesting part, it was assisted by his brother Jaden Tassi. So a nice brother-to-brother goal for his first collegiate goal. And then Fitch also scoring his first goal. Unfortunately, game stayed tied late, and Drew scored the winning goal in the 88th minute off a corner kick. Ball was bouncing around. They just couldn't get it under control, and fortunately, Drew was able to knock it into the net to take the 4-3 win. But it was a good step forward for Immaculata, playing a strong landmark team, and it was good to see them, compete and have an opportunity in that game. They opened conference play on Saturday up at Centenary and played to a scoreless draw. Good to get a point on the road in their first conference game. Luca Greppolini made 5 saves in goal for Immaculata to earn the clean sheet. So it's a solid start to conference play. Obviously, it'd be a tougher week coming up for men's soccer as they host Marymount here before going up to St. Elizabeth's for a rare Saturday night game for a road game, their first time playing St. Elizabeth's. What did you guys think about the men's soccer team this week?
Yeah, it was a good overall week for them. And of course, not getting wins is one thing, but it's showing wins in improvement. That's definitely important, especially for a young team with a new coach. The Drew match, it broke a four-match streak where they were held scoreless. So scoring 3 goals definitely was their breakout game. And Andy, like you said, with Demir Tassi and Anthony Fitch getting their first collegiate goals and Jaden Tassi getting his first collegiate assist. So a lot of firsts going around. Jonathan Olay also chipping in, the senior. But this is where they start learning and going to a scoreless tie against Centenary. Again, it's not a win, but hey, it's not a loss either. And it's a conference game. So definitely helped as they look to go to Marymount. Well, they're coming here, I should say, but they're heading for that game and then going to St. Elizabeth on Saturday. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the Drew game was good for our guys again. I mean, that was a good competitive game, and they did something that we haven't really seen, 3 goals in the game. So that was definitely good to see. And on Saturday, I know it was a draw, but you still had freshmen like Carlos Cano. He led the team with 3 shots on goal. Michael Prawl had 2 shots on goal, and the defense of Daniel Rourke, Kyle Coleman, and Jane Tossi was strong just to keep that from going to a loss. Obviously, in tough games like that, they can go either way. So that's always a big thing to think about. So they got some momentum going into Wednesday, and hopefully they can keep it going.
All right, switching gears over to women's volleyball. Women's volleyball had a interesting schedule this week. They played 4 matches. They were at Rowan on Tuesday, at Widener on Thursday, and then they had a tri-match at Alvernia with them and Rutgers Camden on Saturday. So a lot of action going on. And I actually went to Rowan and Widener to see the ladies in action since I actually was an undergrad at Rowan. So got to see them at my alma mater. A lot of great action, 4 losses this week, but there was definitely signs of improvement. Rowan is a great program, and the Mighty Macs stole a set in a thrilling third set. They came from behind, and also at Alvernia, 5-set loss to Rutgers Camden, a great NJAC school, and a 4-set loss to Alvernia. They are in the MAC along with Widener, great programs. So really good to see the ladies play against some great teams. Angelica Santini Buellerin against Rowan, 12 assists, an ace, 5 digs. Widener, Mia Esposito had 11 kills. Rutgers Camden, the Mighty Macs were actually down 0-2, won the next 2 sets, and forced the 5th set, if you want to call it overtime. But Rutgers Camden, they were the ones to come out victorious there. So, what do you guys think overall? Like some really great numbers and fighting against teams like Rowan, Andy. That's pretty good for this young team.
Yeah, I mean, to get out there and be able to be in sets, and also have like, be able to steal a set, make that play, that fourth set, that's good for this young team. Gives them a lot of confidence that they can play against stronger teams as they head into conference play. Then also, you look at Widener, that first set could have went either way. It was 28-26. You get that set, things are different. Makes Widener have to dig down deep. Then to fight back like they did in the Rutgers Camden match, being down 0-2, it would have been easy just to say, "Oh, we're just going to pack it in and move on to the next match." But they didn't do that. They fought back. They forced that fifth set, and unfortunately, Rutgers Camden was able to kind of bounce back and take that. But you also saw, Angelica Santini Buellerin had a new career high for single match assists with 36. That's great to see that. You're seeing other players, Adriana Ventura, 20 digs in that match, had 2 service aces. So you're seeing a lot of good things coming from young players and everything with this setup. So it's going to help them when they get to that conference play in about a week.
I mean, yeah, going off that Widener game in that first set, I mean, they scored 3 points while being down 24-22. So that shows that they're fighting. They're not giving up, especially up against tough teams like this. Hodgins up there, Esposito, Bowlerin, Gartman, Ventura. Everyone's just working together and contributing. That's definitely going to make them much more tougher as they get through conference play. And it's exciting to see.
They have a nice schedule this week. So now, after all these road games, they finally get a chance to come home. So on Friday, the 10th, they have a Friday night doubleheader, not tri-match, doubleheader against Rutgers Newark and York, PA, the one in the MAC conference, not the New York one. So Rutgers Newark and York will be at Alumni Hall, and then on Saturday the 11th, they will open conference play with St. Elizabeth as the Eagles come here at 1 o'clock.
So we're moving on to field hockey now. It was a tough week for field hockey. They had a lot of games this week. One of their two games was back to back. We started off the week on Tuesday with a 5-0 loss to Goucher. There really wasn't much to talk about in this game. Just a really tough night for the Money Macs. Victoria Atkinson and Bailey Knights each had defensive saves, and Ellen Miller had 6 saves in the second half when she came in. But that game was a tough one, and definitely something that they wanted to work on as they got into Thursday night, where they versus Kane. Ultimately lost that one 6-1. They started off good with high energy. The game saw a lone early goal to give the Money Macs a 1-0 lead. Freshman forward Morgan Barnes scored it. It was her third goal this season. But after that, Kane took control, scoring 3 in the first, 2 in the second, and 1 in the third. But they definitely played better than they did on Tuesday, which was good to see. And then a quick turnaround again on Friday when they hosted Oswego State from upstate New York, where they fell 2-1 after another early lead. But this game was definitely a competitive game throughout. Same story as the night before when we saw freshman Morgan Barnes, who scored in less than 6 minutes into the game for her fourth goal of the season. Oswego, though, was able to answer 5 minutes later to tie it at 1. They scored the go-ahead goal in the third to take a 2-1 lead, and then they ultimately won it 2-1. But there was a lot of improvements in this game from definitely the past two nights. Defense was strong in this game with Rachel Mann having a defensive save off an Oswego State penalty corner, and Natalie Dodd had back-to-back defensive saves. And she was the first IU player to do that in over a year. Madeline Bonner was the last one, October 5th, 2024 at Goucher. I remember I was talking to Natalie Dodd after the Goucher game on Tuesday because she got called into defense, which was a position she hasn't really played much. And then we saw her have those two defensive saves on Friday. So I'm like, what do you think about it? And it definitely showed that she can handle there, and it's definitely fun to see that after a tough week. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, it was a difficult week. Obviously, yeah, Natalie got into the game against Goucher and actually knocked one of the 7 girls that Goucher had from Kenya. Really good athletes, really fast,
Philly
and
style right there.
yeah,
Philly style.
and Philly style, Northeast Archbishop Ryan girl, flag football player, making a little body contact was good to see, and then for to be right in that position to make those two defensive saves, which we confirmed via replay and with the coaching staff that those were her defensive saves. And obviously, you're seeing several players do that this past week with Billy Knight's Victoria Atkinson being in position right there behind the goalie when they needed to be to knock the ball away, prevent it from getting in the cage. And then Rachel Madden, got the one early in the game that could have put Oswego State ahead earlier in that game and kept the team in the game. Ella Miller playing her first full game, full start, real game against Oswego State was really good in net. And you're seeing a lot of positives as they approach conference play. I mean, you knew this schedule was going to be difficult. They were going to play this year. You have a lot of young players, and you're trying to mix back in, getting ready for conference play. You dealt with the illness bug, unfortunately, this week, losing one of your captains for the week last week, Kayla Ledbetter, who was someone you'd have to tie her down to a board to keep her from playing the game. So you knew she must really not have been able to go if she was sitting out because being sick. So hopefully they'll have her back. Obviously they have another tough week ahead with St. Mary's College of Maryland on Wednesday, and then back home on Friday against the College of Worcester for their senior day on Friday for the Mighty Macs. So that should be an interesting day. Any thoughts on that?
What was interesting in the Oswego State game was just the amount of substitutions. They were basically going like with hockey subs, how quick they were doing. And I think maybe that's what might have given us some trouble too, not only with the fact that we've never seen this team before in field hockey, but the fact that they just kept bringing in fresh bodies, and not wearing anybody down. I think that's what kept Oswego in the game the whole time. And while it did make things a little difficult for us in sports information trying to get all the substitutions, I think maybe that led to something. But playing on a second night of a back to back is never an easy thing, and hopefully we can see a win or two as we get St. Mary's and Worcester up in here this week.
Yeah, the substitution was tough. I mean, Andy and I were up in the press box and just could not keep up with it. We were doing the best we could, but And there was a whole bunch going on in the defense, like Natalie Dodd's back-to-back defensive saves, but then we got a sub going on. It was a crazy game for everyone involved. But yeah, so St. Mary's College of Maryland on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Obviously, they're familiar with that. It used to be in the conference. It's going to be another tough one. And then the College of Worcester on Friday at 4 when they honor their 7 seniors prior to the game.
That's the College of Worcester. We got it in the pronunciation guide
Oh,
in the on the
Worcester.
roster. Not Worcester, Worcester.
Worcester,
Worcester,
sorry.
yeah, Worcester. So let's make sure we get that correct. And well, I think now is a be a good time to bring in our guest on this week's Tuesday Talk podcast. So we'll be back and we'll bring in Emily Guthier from the Immaculata women's soccer team. And welcome back to the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics podcast. We'll bring in our guest at this point, senior goalkeeper from the Immaculata women's soccer team, Emily Guthier. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure, that's good to have you on board. And this will be Emily's senior week this week. For me, it's kind of interesting because this is my fourth year here at Immaculata. So Emily's class is the class I began with. So, working through a whole class with this group, so it's kind of nice. Saturday, your team opened conference play with a big 2-0 win over Centenary. You guys had to snap your, recent winless streak, and must have felt good to get out there and get control of that game right away and, get a big win.
Yeah, it felt really good to finally be able to get rid of the winless streak. Centenary was a tough opponent, but we were able to stay calm and put some goals away to give us the win.
So, what's your favorite part about being a member of Immaculata women's soccer, and what do you like most about Immaculata in general?
My favorite part about being a member of the women's soccer team here is just being a part of such a good group of girls. I've made some of my best friends just being on the team, and something about Immaculata in general is I get to study nursing, which is a tough major, but at the same time I get to continue playing my sport.
So Emily, your team has had to face a challenging non-conference schedule. You get playing a lot of MAC teams like the Sales, your Sinus, Eastern, Widener. How do you think playing those strong teams will help you continue on here in conference play, especially with Marymount coming up on Wednesday night?
I think that playing those challenging teams was a little discouraging at times when you have loss after loss, but I believe that it made us a lot stronger as a team. And going into a tough match with Marymount, we'll be able to take the composure that we've learned from those tough challenges and bring it into a conference game on Wednesday.
This season, the women's soccer team, you have a new coaching staff again this season. I know that has to be difficult having new coaching staffs like you've had. And also you have a lot of new players this season. How have you been able to adapt to having a third coaching staff now and having so many new players this season?
I think starting with a new coach and a large freshman class this year, the biggest thing to adapt was their style of coaching and all the freshmen style of play. And I think just starting fresh and trusting our coaches and trusting our teammates is what's helping the most. And if we just continue to play to each other's strengths and trust each other, I believe we can go far this season.
I've been down there on the field for some of the games, and I could hear it's a lot of different message this year than in past years. You're getting from the staff. Seamus is a very, Coach O'Connor is a very positive guy. He seems like he's always focusing on positives with you, with your team, and how you're playing and things you can do. Has that been helpful this year in transitioning like that?
Yeah, his positivity has been such a game changer. I think it's something that we lacked a little bit last season. So being able to have such strong support on the sideline and being able to hear how proud he is of us, no matter the outcome of the game, is just really encouraging and just helps us all keep going.
You began your Immaculata career playing with your older sister, Kristen. How was the experience of playing your first season with your sister? Obviously, not an uncommon thing in college athletics. So, playing with your sister, how was that like?
It was such a great opportunity. Being able to share the field with her for my first season and her last was just bittersweet, honestly. She helped me gain confidence. I trusted her, and I think it just really played a big part in who I am and how I play today.
Remember your sister's message in senior day talking how much she enjoyed seeing her younger sister crush it in her first season playing with the team. As you, I remember you won a couple of Defensive Player of the Week awards that freshman year, especially the game against Del Val when you got in, had to make about 3 saves in about 20 seconds in the second half. You came in relief for an injured, goalkeeper that day, and you made 3 saves in 20 seconds, and that was your first conference award for that game. That had to be fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Just being able to take advantage of those chances I got freshman year was just really good.
Emily, what's your story about how you got into soccer? How long have you been playing? What did you know when you went that you wanted to play a sport in college, especially majoring in nursing?
I've been playing soccer as long as I can remember, honestly. When I was younger, I would play like some on the field, some in the goal. Developing into like older age playing like in high school and club. I then switched over to just goalkeeper. I have two older sisters that played soccer, so they were a huge influence on me as well. And honestly, I didn't decide to play a sport in college until my senior year of high school. I was back and forth, and I had a club coach that really encouraged me and helped me feel capable of competing at this level.
Where do you what are your plans for after college with your nursing degree and things like that? What do you want to do after your time at IU?
Well, sometime in June, I plan to take my NCLEX, which is the state nursing board test, and then ideally, I would like to become a pediatric oncology nurse at CHOP or Nemours, wherever it takes me.
Well, Emily, we thank you for joining us today, and we wish you good luck this week in games, at Marymount, and then I guess you guys are on the road on Saturday. So we wish you good luck this week, or on the road. You're home Saturday for Senior Day. You're on the road Wednesday at Marymount. You'll be back home for Senior Day here at Immaculata, and look forward to having you and your family out here on the field to join us for Senior Day. And thank you for coming in and being on the Tuesday Talk podcast with us this week.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate everything you guys do.
Well, that was a great interview there with Emily. We thank her for coming in again, and that will wrap it up for this week for the Tuesday Talk IU Athletic Podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to having you join us again next week when we are back with the Tuesday Talk Podcast. Roll Max.